Senate will come back to order. Messages from the House.
Messages from the House, each dated February 25th, 2026. Mr. President, the following bills passed the House on third reading by the votes indicated. Message number 193, Senate File 5, Hospital Bankruptcy Proceedings, ayes 38, noes 21, excused 3. Message number 194, Senate File 7, Theft Amendments, ayes 55, noes 4, excused 3. Message number 195, Senate File 8, Absconding for Criminal Purposes, Criminal Offense, ayes 57, noes 2, excused 3. Message number 196, Senate File 11, Burials of Indigent Veterans Amendments, ayes 59, excused 3. Senate File 24, Lottery Tickets, Acceptance of Debit Card Payments, ayes 49, noes 10, excused 3. Message number 200, Senate File 30, Elections, Voter Registration Revisions, ayes 59, excused 3. Message 201, Senate File 31, Uniform Mortgage Modification Act, ayes 59. Message number 203, Senate File 18, Attendance of Students in K through 12 Schools, ayes 59. Message number 206, Senate File 47, Increase of Hathaway Scholarship Awards, ayes 59, excused 2, absent 1. Each signed Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk. The message number 197 from the House of Representatives dated February 25th, 2026. Concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 16, Subleasing of State Lands Exemptions, passed on third reading in an amended form by the vote indicated. Ayes 57, noes 2, excused 3. Katie Talbot, Chief Clerk. Message number 199, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 28, Election Voting Machine and Voting System Tests, passed on third reading in an amended form by the vote indicated. Ayes 55, noes 4, excused 3. Signed, Katie Talbot, Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Tom. Looks like we've got the last of the House bills. Bills on introduction. House Bill 103, first reading of the House bill.
House Bill 103, engrossed, Wyoming First Amendment Protection Act, sponsored by Representative Ottman, aye 52, no 4, excused 4.
House Bill 103 is assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. House Bill 141, first reading of the House bill.
House Bill 141, engrossed, Fifth Amendment Protection Act, sponsored by Representative Bear, aye 35, no 17, excused 10.
House Bill 141 is assigned to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Giving our judiciary guys a break. They're laughing at me right here. Hardest working committee in the legislature. House Bill 98, first reading of the House bill.
House Bill 98, Prohibit Red Flag Gun Seizure Act penalty amendments, sponsored by Representative Haroldson. Ayes 56, noes 5, excused 1.
House Bill 98 is assigned to Committee number 5, Agriculture. House Bill 56, first reading of the House Bill.
House Bill 56, engrossed, carbon capture mandate repeal, sponsored by Representative Knapp. Aye 56, no 5, excused 1.
House Bill 56 is assigned to Committee number 9, Minerals. House Bill 126, first reading of the House Bill.
House Bill 126, engrossed, Human Heartbeat Act, sponsored by Representative Nyman. Aye 51, no 7, excused 4.
House Bill 126 is assigned to Committee number 10, Labor. And that is it for House bills. Reports from standing committees.
Corrected copy dated February 24th, 2026, Mr. President. Your committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom was referred House Bill 36, engrossed, Forestry Division Wildland Fire Modules, respectfully report same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass. Voting aye, Senators Garou, Larson, and Salazar. Voting no, Senator French. Excused, Senator Driscoll. Signed, Senator Salazar, Chairman. Mr. President, dated February 25th, 2026, your committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom was referred House Bill 122, engrossed, Wyoming Rural Health Transformation Program, respectfully report same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass. Voting aye, Senators Driscoll, French, Garou, Larson. Excuse, Senator Salazar. Signed, Senator Salazar, Chairman. Mr. President, dated February 25th, 2026, your committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom was referred House Bill 87, Omnibus Water Bill Planning, respectfully report same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass. Voting aye, Senators Driscoll, French, Garou, Larson. Excuse, Senator Salazar. Signed, Senator Salazar, Chairman. Mr. President, dated February 25th, 2026, your committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom was referred House Bill 78, Forest Health Grant Program, respectfully reports back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass as amended. Voting aye, Senators Driscoll, French, Garou, and Larson. Excuse, Senator Salazar. Signed, Senator Salazar, Chairman.
Thank you. Madam Majority Floor Leader, we're at that order of business for consideration of bills on general file.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate resolve itself into committee of the whole.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Senator Crago.
Committee of the Whole will come to order. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 111. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 111, state-funded capital construction, engrossed, an act relating to state-funded capital construction sponsored by Appropriations, referred to Committee Number 2, which returned a do pass recommendation. Voting aye, Senators French, Garou, Larson, Salazar. Excuse, Senator Driscoll.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Senator Salazar?
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, do so with a recommendation that House Bill 111 do pass. And I will ask the senator where I love to ski to manage this bill. Thank you very much.
Senator Garou.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Almost a half a foot of fresh powder today. Just commentary. I bring you House Bill 111, state-funded capital construction. There is a Committee of the Whole amendment. Could I ask it to be read in at this time?
Please read in the amendment.
House Bill 111, Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1, page 9, line 15.
Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me walk you through this bill, and then we'll get to the amendment at the end. This is, like I said, capital construction. If you see on page 1, it just sets it up. On page 2, it talks about the funds or where these buildings, what funding source are being used on page 2 and 3. And we start to get into the meat of it on section 2 at the bottom of page 3 and moving on to page 4. And these are the projects on page 4, lines 1 through 15 are the projects themselves. I'll run through them just real quick. First is level 1, level 2 study for the State Construction Department. Second is the contingency fund. The third is military spending $5 million, general $5 million, federal. Next is the Torrington Barracks. Also that's $42 million on the federal side. And then as we drop down, there's the fair show floor, and that's private money. Then the $87 million on line 8, that's the Veterans Home, and that is general fund dollars that we're going to be looking for our federal friends to reimburse us for. On down, then we move into the junior or the community colleges. 4 programs from LCCC, and then Northwest and Central Wyoming College for the amounts listed. And I've got a little narrative on that if you have specific questions. Then down on line 17, it talks about some of the footnotes, and it talks about those level 1, level 2 studies, and it shows you what those are for. Department of Agriculture, OSLI, community colleges, that you can see right there as we move on to page 5. And then it talks about, on page 5, it starts to talk about construction department is authorized for qualified owner's representative for the Veterans Home remodel, and talks a little bit about that. That's on lines 11 through 15. And if you move over to page 6, we talk about capital construction projects that come out of the State Parks and Cultural Resources Fund. That's on lines 12 through 15. And then we come on page 7, we get to major maintenance for all facilities. That's a big number, and you'll see that big number on page 7, line 10, $233,354,943. And then what it talks about beyond that is the splits on where that money goes. Line 16 talks about the 37% of that fund that goes to State Construction Department for those state buildings, and then 7 and 99/100% to state parks. Then over to page 8, 36% to the University of Wyoming. I'm rounding, and then on page 8, line 11, 18 and 700% to community colleges. Then down below line 15, it's Wyoming State Penitentiary construction account. That's $10 million. That moves over to section 10 on page 9. That's $10 million, Mr. Chairman, for new property for the folks at the state penitentiary. Guess we're making more felons. Then if you go on to page 10, you'll see section 5 on line 10 there, and that's the state shooting complex. And there it talks about how those monies are to be spent, the $2.5 million coming from Game and Fish, and 2.5 from the beloved tourism account. It's on page 11. And then we move on, it just talks about funds expended and where it goes, and then other rules and regulations, and the fact that this is effective July 1st, 2026. Then the amendment truly, and I used this term too loosely yesterday, and I'd like to apologize to the body for doing that. This truly is an honest to goodness technical amendment, where I kind of overused that word a little bit yesterday. This truly came straight from the staff, didn't have anything to do with anything else, but just on page 9, line 15, delete that line entirely. And then on line 16, we're just amending that it goes to actual chapter, section 10, section 8. So it just cites where this comes out of the green books and sets it straight. that is the essence of the bill. I'd be glad to stand for any questions that you may have on Senate file or House Bill 111, capital construction.
Senator Grew, just to make sure, and you maybe already did
Oh,
this, could you move that amendment,
I'm
please?
sorry, Mr. Chairman. I at this time would like to move the Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1 to House Bill 111 and ask for your favorable consideration.
Let's deal with the amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, question being called. All in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1, please say aye. All those opposed? Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1 has been adopted. We are back on the bill. Is there any discussion on the bill? Senator Hicks.
Mr. Chairman, maybe somebody can provide an explanation. So when you go to page 4 and then you go down to line 8, and this is the Veterans Home remodel, we need to get this done. But my recollection in the past is the federal government typically pays a substantial portion of these. And if my recollection's right, at one point in time, we were talking about maybe upwards of 50 million or so federal dollars for this facility. So the question I have is, why are we not showing any of the 87 million projected construction costs as part of that as federal money?
Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been a long discussed project, and yes, a couple of years ago, there was a different administration in Washington. I'm sure you all heard about it. And they had a list of where this project fell in the list of veterans home projects around the country, and we were at the very bottom. And so the chances of that moving up the list, given that administration, they felt were small. And you're right about the splits in the money, but we did not at that time know exactly where it was going, and since we were so far down the list, it really was discussed and it was voted by this body and the body down the hall not to do the project. Well, this last year, once again, I think you probably read about it, there's a new administration in town, and some of our leaders, some of our folks in Washington have moved into more lofty positions. And so it was felt that maybe now's the time to reinvigorate that conversation. At the same time, there was a bill that was passed back east, something about big and beautiful, that actually started to change those percentages. And the percentages that the federal government would put towards this project were going to drop year by year. And so that was another fact in testimony that we heard that led us to the conclusion to put this project in. So the answer to your question is, we don't know exactly what those percentages are. We're hoping that our delegation can get that money allocated before the percentages drop anymore. But what we do know is this: buildings cost more, and that costs more, and the percentage is dropping. And so it was the feeling of JAC and the State Building Commission and the folks that oversee, the committees that oversee this, felt that now was the time to pull the trigger on that project, and that was the reason why, and the reason why we don't have other funds shown.
Thank you, Senator. Any additional discussion? Senator Steinmetz and then to Senator Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question on the state construction department and if there were any reversions that can go back towards some of these projects, because we know sometimes when they're closing out projects, they're not as quick to pull the trigger on reversions. Were there any reversions this year, or did you check into that at all?
All right, let's go back to Senator Hicks, and then we'll pile up a few questions. Senator Hicks?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to follow up, and I see the footnotes on there that anticipate that there could be potential federal funding. But based on the effective date of when this goes into effect is July 1st, I'm just trying to get a feeling is what I hope that we can do is actually leverage our 87 million and get some of that from the federal government for the veterans home. But would this trigger that expenditure? So where are we at with the veterans home? So what I don't want to do is spend 87 million if the feds are going to come in here and give us 50 million a year from now. And so when is this money going to be expended as far as the process, level 1, level 2? Are we at construction bid phase with this, with the state construction department now? Just trying to get a feeling for that, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Grew?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Answer to the first question. We do not know the total amount of reversions as of yet, Mr. Chairman, but I'll try and get as best I can to get that figure for you before second reading. Second question. The planning's been done, and it's in the ready to bid and go phase. Just some final touch-ups on moving that project forward. Once again, this is best described as a bet. I mean, as a lot of you know, a few years ago, this was a $50 million project. Today, it's $87 million. 2 years from now, it's going to be $120 million. But what we do know is the amount of federal funding that's coming to this project is going down. And so the thought was, pull the trigger now, make our best deal given the fact that we have a new favorable administration to this type of project. 2, we've got favorable people in favorable positions to try to get us the best advantage as those discussions occur.
Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The good senator is absolutely correct, but I will tell you that there are some who believe $87 million is a lot of money and are not excited about that project. So there are some individuals who are having a problem with that amount.
Any additional discussions? Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, and I guess I'm potentially in that group. And my question is, when I've visited that institution, and it's been a few years since I've been there, but I've been relatively impressed by it and the quality of it. And how great is the need to remodel this? Or is this something that with some major maintenance can continue in operation the way it is for a considerable number of years? Mr. Chairman, I have been quite favorably impressed when I visited.
Senator Landon.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm swimming out into pretty deep water here because I have not followed state capital construction through the appropriations process. Heard some of this on SBC. But regarding that facility up there in Buffalo, as your chairman of the Judiciary Committee a couple of years ago, we took the time to tour that facility. And quite honestly, no, major maintenance has been the ticket for the last 25 years, and it's hung in there. They've done a great job of keeping that facility where it is, but it's in desperate need of help. It represents what we're going to do for the next 2 generations of veterans out there, folks. And I'm a little concerned about that facility. I'm quite shocked to hear that we've waited on the federal government and not gotten our money. I don't think we wait on the government back there any longer. As big a hit as this is, folks, what are we going to do with that facility? It feels like we either fix it and get it up to speed for the next 2 generations, or we figure out a way to close it. Because, you can't continue to limp a facility along like that one. It's getting a lot of age to it. Thank you.
Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree, $81 million is a lot of money, and $120 million is more than 81. And 81 probably would have been better to do it at 50. We'd have saved 30 million. So yes, all those are big numbers, and we deal with them every day here. The question is, and in the view of the State Construction Department, they say the time is now, given what's happening on the ground politically, what's happening on the ground with inflation, what's happening on the ground with cost of construction, the time for this project is now. And so weighing all those factors, it is a policy call, it is a judgment call. Like minds may differ on this one, I know that. But as far as the question about the building itself, in the view of state construction, it is past time. It is past time. That major maintenance now is throwing good money after bad. And it's time to pull the trigger on a full-on reconstruct. And so that's what this is about. And so, like I say, weighing all the factors, that's where they shook out. That's why it comes to us. Be glad to answer any other questions.
Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Recognizing this is a Senate addition from the bill that passed over with an addition of 86 million, I find that, no, that's not the case. I'm sorry, my apologies. Let's go back and I'm going to ask some questions that have never been answered when I served on JAC that I've asked concerning this particular facility. So I know that in 2023, we completed 3 additional cottages onto the facility. I'd like to know the number of that investment and why at that time, when we had our construction crews on the ground, materials being bought, why we didn't do the building at that time. We finished the 3 cottages that we invested in. And so we have this aging building with next to 3 big buildings. That seems like that might have been really unwise. In addition to that, just in that county, in that 40-mile radius, it's my recollection that we've spent almost $1 billion in construction projects in that 40-mile radius in the last 5 years. That much money in construction projects. Are we competing with ourselves in how many construction projects we have done there recently with over $100 million construction projects at a time? How many veterans are currently utilizing this particular facility? I've never received an answer to that. Are those Wyoming veterans, and how are we paying for those Wyoming veterans? According to our own eligibility standards, these are veterans who are unable to care for themselves. They are indigent. And so are these Medicaid qualified patients? Because I know we like to call them our Wyoming veterans and they need a place. We have a VA facility here, very large, nice one here in Cheyenne. But this program, it's very hard to get the data concerning the utilization and who is in there, how many of them are Wyoming veterans. Are we getting reimbursed on Medicaid rates for this facility? Why did we not do all the construction at the same time? And I strongly suspect that since 2 years ago, the price was 86 million, that the price today is not 86 million based on the logic that's been presented to us here this afternoon, that it's only going up because 2 years ago it was 86.
Thank you. Senator Crago.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll try to answer a couple of those questions. I am not sure where the $1 billion has been invested within 40 miles of that facility. But I'm happy to check in with the good senator from the capital city to figure that out. Be interested to see the dollar figures on that. As far as not doing the construction, we actually tried. I've been bringing this particular project. Now, I wasn't always in this body, but I've been trying to get this particular project funded every year I've been in the legislature. I believe the first time I brought the motion to get it paid for, it was $50 million. And now we're double that. The good senator from the capital city is right. The total cost is not 86. If you look in that particular bill, it's more than that. Now, some of that has already been paid for. That's including planning, architectural, et cetera. So that's already in there. She's correct about that. This is the left pay-fors. 57 folks, we have 57 veterans that live in that facility today. That does not include the skilled nursing facilities, the 3 other buildings that the good senator was talking about. But while the company was there, we tried. This particular body did not agree to do that. That's why we didn't do it. We made the attempt. It didn't happen. I don't know how to fix that at this point, but there are lots of folks. And for those who have not been to the facility recently, I would suggest you go. To the good senator from Bates Creek, it has lots of problems. It's not ADA compliant at all. There are often times where they have to pack people around in their wheelchairs because they cannot move throughout the facility freely. So it has all sorts of issues. It needs fixed. Our veterans deserve better. And if anybody wants to come to my hometown, I will gladly take you up there and show you that. It's a beautiful spot. The Soldiers and Sailors Home is in one of the prettiest places in Wyoming. Again, if you come and take a tour, I'll be glad to show you why we put the skilled nursing facility there. I know that was a matter of contention. It's there now. It's a beautiful spot, and the folks love being there. The veterans who are there love the facility. They love the atmosphere. They just deserve a facility that works for them, that's ADA compliant. It's high time we pay for this, get it done, and move on. It's not going to get any cheaper. It's not. And next year, if we come back and have the same discussion, instead of 86 million, we will be talking about 120. And that seems like a poor use of our money. Let's get it paid for. Ask the feds to pay us back and move on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion on 111, that we do have committee of the whole amendments we can go to, but I see Senator Guru standing. Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And an answer, I just wanted to make sure, we'll get an answer on how many of those folks are Wyoming folks, and we'll get an answer. I had that question out, I just hadn't received it, the response, but as soon as we do, we'll get it for you.
Thank you. Further discussion on Senator Hicks on the bill.
Mr. Chairman, on the bill, and try to bring this back a little bit. I don't know anybody in this body or this state doesn't want to fund a place for our veterans. The question is there veterans of the United States of America? They went and fought wars for this entire country, and so it's very disappointing to me. I think we need to do the project. It's tremendously disappointing to me that the federal government that has the obligation is not willing to come up with the dollars on this. And so I'd like to see the project move forward, but I would surely like to see the federal government come in because they fought for the entire country, not just the state of Wyoming. And we have an obligation as a country, not just the state. And so I don't know how we craft that or where we're at with our delegation or anything, but that is an ongoing disappointment through this whole process that we're picking up the whole bill for the United States on this one. So, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Hicks. Thank you, Senator Hicks. I have Senator Ide on the bill.
Yes, on the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, there's a lot of significant spending in here that you heard me say before. I think it's out of our proper role here. I think they're all good, well-meaning projects. You know, the University of Wyoming, the State Fair, shooting complex, you know, in particular the VA. But I just want to reinforce that a lot of these should be privately done and in particular the VA federally done. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion on, go ahead, I'll do it right now. Further discussion on the bill, further discussion. We're in the committee of the whole. We do have committee of the whole amendments ahead of us. There's some folks here visiting just momentarily. We're going to take a little break and do a privilege quickly before we get to the amendment. Senator Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Privilege of the floor.
Please proceed.
Sorry to interrupt this beautiful debate, but we do have a visitor up here in the gallery behind us. Is former Representative and Speaker of the House, Bill McIlvain, has stopped in to see our work, and I want everyone to give him a round of applause and say hello if you get the chance.
Well, thank you for your service, Speaker. Thank you for being with us here today. I hope you're enjoying the work of the Wyoming Senate as a former House member. Further discussion on the bill. We do have a second committee of the whole amendment. Let's have that read in, please.
House Bill 111, Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 2, page 4, after line 6.
Thank you. Senator Boner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 2 to House Bill 111 and ask for the body's favorable consideration. Mr. Chairman, this amendment deals with the Wyoming Law Enforcement Academy and our ability in this state to ensure that those who pledge to protect us are adequately trained and have the opportunity to receive that training at the Law Enforcement Academy. So a little bit of background. The Wyoming Law Enforcement Academy has been through several level 1 and 2 studies going back to 2020. It's been a struggle up to this point to get any traction on the necessary improvements to that facility. But I think we're finally in a spot now that we have a CAPCOM bill that this body can discuss. First time in my count we have opportunity to do so in about 2 or 3 years, that we can have this discussion as to what the needs are for supporting our law enforcement professionals. So the amendment would insert some 2 projects here. The first one is the Emergency Vehicle Operations course, and that'd be for design and construction. So this is a big flat concrete pad, you can imagine it, where our law enforcement trainees have an opportunity to practice their skills, utilizing their vehicles. Obviously very important to make sure they're up to standards in that area. The current pad, if any of you have been to Law Enforcement Academy, is about 6 acres. It's right on the side of the hill, right by the river. Lots of erosion issues, lots of runoff issues. In fact, they've been constantly having to basically replace the thing over the years. And last time they did an assessment in 2021, looks like they're going to have to spend multiple millions of dollars to replace this current facility by 2028. As if that wasn't bad enough, Mr. Chairman, this pad was not built to standards even 40 years ago. Much less it's not up to current standards as well. So for current standards, you need about a 40-acre facility. This is currently 6 acres. So I think that this is a very compelling ask that for whatever reason didn't make it through the process. Like I said, this isn't a matter of inflation increasing the cost of the project. If we don't do something now, a lot of that major maintenance funds is going to be wasted just maintain what we have currently. And then, of course, it doesn't alleviate the need to get this facility up to standards. So that's the first one, dealing with the Emergency Vehicle Operations Complex. The second one is a level 3 design study for the firearms range. It has a separate set of issues. Right now, they're limited to only a 100-yard range. Whereas the standard now, and has been for 15 years, is you really need a 300-yard range. The skills that our law enforcement officers need have evolved over the decades. Maybe back in the 80s, you didn't have to prove your proficiency in a long rifle, but now you do. And so it's really important that we move forward with this project as well to make sure that we have the space needed to adequately train our law enforcement professionals. I will share that the state has successfully acquired over 200 acres near the current facility. So there's a plan for growth that doesn't involve building on the side of a hill, as is currently the case. And this is an important part of dealing with the immediate needs of the Law Enforcement Academy. So I ask for your favorable consideration. I do think it's important that we play a little bit of catch up, as we have not had an opportunity to have a CAPCOM bill in several years. And so for that reason, I ask that you support this amendment.
Thank you, Senator Boner. Is there any discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2? Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm looking at the amendment. We're looking at, again, some pretty big ticket items. We just finished the conversation on $86 million. You know, folks, I will just simply say this: it adds up. It adds up. So it's up to you. It's up to this body and this floor what you want to do. But these numbers are really starting to increase the expenditures. So I put that forward as a warning.
Thank you, Senator. Additional discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2. Senator Landon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, just as one of your representatives on the State Building Commission, I will tell you that the senator's right. We have not really kept up with our state construction needs. It has fallen victim to some politics in the last few sessions. A lot of times this becomes the football that we kick back and forth, and we have gotten behind. But I will say this: as we consider additional projects on a pretty healthy bill already, I begin to get capacity anxiety. we have a pretty stout school facilities bill that is moving through the process this year, Mr. Chairman, and now here comes state construction. I haven't talked, with the state agency about these particular amendments or this bill today, but we do have to think about that. We didn't have a bill make it through last year, and some of these are holdovers, and it's going to take a little while for us to catch up. Just plant that in the back of your mind, though. We do have capacity issues out there with our construction capability. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Landon. Additional discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2. Back to the sponsor, Senator Boner.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do appreciate that. I'll respond to my colleague from Casper quickly and say that locally there's been some local government projects in that area of the county. So as far as capacity goes, I think that we'll be seeing some capacity freeing up. And of course, that's central Wyoming wide. We're very busy, not just in government projects, but private sector projects in Douglas. And so no stranger to importing folks from especially our larger municipality just to the west of us. But there are some local projects which are concluding, which should free up some workforce there.
Additional discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2, Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would like to broaden our discussion for just a moment regarding this amendment, but also we as legislators really have to be looking at the larger picture of all of this, of all of our spending, of all of our decisions, and what is happening. And so one of the measurements for us in this body is our goldenrod. And if you look at the goldenrod for February 23rd, we still have, if you dig that out on your desk, on page 1, line 17, there's about $146 million, give or take a little change, that is left in the general fund. But when you come down to the LSRA, which backs up so many things for us, including our K-12 education, on line 29, we have spent that down to $810 million. Now at $500 million, that's when the backup to K-12 is removed. So that's one thing. And then something I haven't seen in the past, and maybe I just hadn't paid as much attention as I have been this year, but there is a staff note that says, multiple bills appropriate, transfer, or redirect the same revenues as of February 23rd. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm not going to bore you with reading all of that to you, but I would encourage you to check out your goldenrod as we're making spending decisions. And if you want to see the individual bills, they're on the next page, and it tells you how much we're spending there. It gives you the House versus Senate profiles. This is a very important document as we're making these decisions. So just be aware of our spending.
Additional discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2. Seeing none, we are voting on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no.
No.
Committee of the Whole Amendment number 2 has not been adopted. We are back on the bill. Senator Guru. Could we please read in Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3?
House Bill 111, Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3, page 4, after line 14.
Senator Gru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment, I would move at this time Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3 and ask for your favorable consideration. Mr. Chairman and members of the body, in 2018, I served down the hall in the other chamber before I came home here, and started working on a project for our community, Central Wyoming College Jackson Outreach Center. It started with a small appropriation of $500,000 on a one-to-one match to start fundraising for that project. 2 specific purpose tax ballots where the citizens of my county have voted for over $20 million an appropriation from this body for another $15–17 million. And now that project is just about complete. And for the first time in 40+ years, Central Wyoming College will have its own small campus in our community in Teton County. This amendment is anticipating what usually happens with construction projects. Next year, the project will be essentially finished, but then they'll come back and say, guess what? We need another $1.5 million or $2 million to finish landscaping, or we got enough money to put all the bookshelves in, but we don't have enough money for the books, or we this or that. The reasons are endless, but they always come at the end and say, we need just a little bit more. Today, this amendment I'm bringing you is hopefully the last amendment on this project, and all it says is, we're gonna catch you before you come. And we're gonna say, you bet, and we've got the money right there, $750,000 on a 1-to-1 match that you have to raise to get the rest. That's the way this project started. Folks in Teton County have stepped up every time and put in millions of dollars to this project. All this amendment contemplates and asks is, put in $750,000 more and we'll match you. I urge you to adopt this amendment to help this project get finished and save yourself $750,000 or more. Glad to answer any questions.
We're on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3, Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, I want to know if there's a doctor in the building, just in case my colleague from Teton County has heart flutters. On and for this amendment, Mr. Chairman. Folks, we really need to finish what we start. And we need to build things that we're proud of. This is not a big expenditure. It's got private match on it, and so we should honor our commitments. Let's finish what we start, and let's take pride in what we do. And so on and for the amendment.
Thank you, Senator Hicks. Additional discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3. Senator Grew.
Yes, and in answer to the man from Baggs, you know, one of the features of this is that it's really for training 2 significant groups of folks, training for students, certified nursing assistants, culinary arts workers. And so in answer to your question, there is a mock surgical room that's not real, that is not anything else, just in case I do have that heart problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Additional discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3. Seeing none, we are voting on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Committee of the Whole Amendment number 3 has been adopted. We are back on the bill. Senator Driscoll, are you ready for Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4? Please read in the amendment.
House Bill 111, Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4, page 4 after line 14.
Senator Driscoll.
I move for adoption of Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4 to House Bill 111. Folks, this is a appropriation general fund, $16 million for the Gillette College, which is actually not fully accredited, but it's coming. And it is for the new ENSI building that's coming there. And this amendment does some really interesting things. I've kind of visited with some of you on it. Gillette College is, most of the buildings on the college were paid for out of city and county money. They didn't come to the state to do it, as they've split. And so what this does is it's a 1-to-1 match for this new building that they're going to build, the ENSI building. 1-to-1 match, but it does one other thing, and it actually goes back to what we talked about, investment in the future. It's only effective if they move to 4 mills. And right now, Gillette College, or Gillette, is not at 4 mills, and it leaves them in a whole different footing with all the community college system, both from contributions and coming back in. So long-term, this is going to really solidify the community college system, get them back on track, and get it where it works. As you know, in our actually party, a bunch of you don't know, 50% of Sheridan College, Mr. Chairman, is Gillette College. And these folks have actually worked very close together to come up with agreements to make this thing work and make it work well. And this ENSI building's kind of the new centerpiece of the kickoff of the Gillette College and where they go. They've done a great job. All our community colleges have done a great job. This gets it going, and once they get to the 4 mills and if they don't get it, they don't get the building. But if they get to the 4 mills, this really pays back the state as well. It not only builds them the building, but it provides money back into the community college system. I'd ask for your favorable support and stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Any discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4? Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On and against, I'll spare everybody my reasons, sound like a broken record, so on and against the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any additional discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4? Seeing none, we're voting on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 4 to House Bill 111. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no? No. Ooh. Division being called. All those in favor, please stand. All those opposed? That amendment has not been adopted. 16 noes, 13 ayes. We are back on the bill. Any further discussion on House Bill 111? Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just got hope. I don't know if this is a partial answer or the total answer, but reversions it was asked about, and $2,933,447 has been reverted from the Powell Community College project. So that's fine. We'll try to hone down that number more for second reading.
Any additional discussion on House Bill 111? Seeing none, we are voting on House Bill 111. All those in favor of Senator Salazar's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 111 do pass, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 111 has passed Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 26. The reading clerk will please read the bill.
House Bill 26 engrossed. Vehicle registration fees, tribal governments, an act relating to motor vehicles, sponsored by Representative Posey, referred to Committee Number 8, which returned a do pass recommendation, voting aye, Senators Barlow, Cooper, Kolb, and Pappas. Excuse Senator Anderson, signed Senator Pappas, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What's your pleasure, Senator Pappas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, that it do so with a recommendation that it do pass, House Bill 26, vehicle registration fees, tribal governments do pass. There is no standing committee amendment, and so for explanation of this bill, I'll turn it over to one of the co-sponsors, Senator Barlow.
Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the Senate, this is a bill that came through discussions during the joint tribal relations meeting over this past interim, and it was pointed out to us that our tribal governments, too, the Eastern Shoshone and the Northern Arapaho governments, do not have the same exemption for registration fees as do all of the others. So you'll look at page 3 and 4. 3 and 4 has the list of folks that do have that exemption: the state of Wyoming, cities, towns, counties, political subdivision, irrigation districts, et cetera, but tribal governments were not. So that was the request, and we've added it to it. It made it effective immediately. In the House, they added a amendment in the House, and that's actually page 2. And this is allowing them to actually have access to those exempt plates. So it was a good addition from our House colleagues. That's the bill, Mr. Chairman. I'd be glad to stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Barlow. Any discussion on House Bill 26? Going once, going twice. All right. Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 26. All those in favor of Senator Pappas's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 26 do pass, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 26 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 32. The reading clerk will please read the bill.
House Bill 32, English proficiency, commercial motor vehicle drivers, engrossed, an act relating to motor vehicles sponsored by Transportation, referred to Committee Number 8, which returned a do pass recommendation. Voting aye, Senators Barlow, Cooper, Kolb, Pappas, excuse Senator Anderson, signed Senator Pappas, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What's your pleasure, Senator Pappas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When the Committee of the Whole rises to, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, that they do so with a do pass recommendation on House Bill 32, English proficiency, commercial motor vehicle drivers. And again, this bill does not have a standing committee amendment, so I'll turn it over to Senator Kolb for an explanation.
Senator Kolb.
Mr. Chairman, could you read the standing committee amendment in? Okay. No, there isn't? Oh. Well, I thought there was an amendment I wasn't aware of, so I was waiting to hear what it was so I could explain it.
We're all waiting.
Well,
Senator Kolb, please proceed.
All right. This bill is going to make it an issue where you can be issued a citation for not having the ability to speak with basic English skills. What this means is the federal guidelines that we currently use, the Highway Patrol uses, to ask commercial drivers if they can demonstrate a proficiency in English. And then they go through a set of federal guidelines when it comes to the proficiency test, and they do it with first an interaction. And then if they suspect the person has an inability to speak English because they can't speak to them, they start asking them basic questions about signs, first the proficiency in English, to find out just where they're at. And if they can't answer those certain tests, they can be issued a citation. And with that, it's a $1,000 fine if they're found to be using a commercial motor vehicle without those basic skills. Now, why is this necessary? Blowovers, inability to read signs, inability to see that, well, there's a slick road ahead, inability to understand about speed changes or why there's a speed change. Many things that make our roads unsafe for the people that travel down our interstates and other roads within the state of Wyoming. And this is an evolution of the federal standards that have now been exercised nationally. We found out that many states issue commercial driver's licenses without any proficiency test, which they're supposed to do. According to the regulations of being a commercial driver, you need to demonstrate a rudimentary understanding of English for safety purposes. So what this does is, currently the Highway Patrol is doing it now. This will create a state statute that will allow those state laws to be then used locally, like with the local PD, Sheriff's Department. Those folks can then issue a citation for the inability to have a proficiency in English. And they're going to follow the same guidelines as the federal guidelines are. So they're not making up new ones. This merely creates a state statute that allows that enforcement in the state of Wyoming instead of having a federal statute or a federal regulation that would not be applicable to any local law enforcement. So this broadens it up. It allows our local law enforcement people to have more flexibility when they run across folks that frankly are a danger on the roads because of their inability to understand English. And they've recently, across the United States, there's been instances where people have died because folks just shouldn't have had a commercial driver's license because they didn't understand basic rules. So that's what this bill does. The meat of the bill would be on page 3, line 7, and it goes on to say the Highway Patrol Division and any other enforcement officers designated by the department. Now we're talking about the Highway Patrol. And now we move on to any peace officer and any county or municipality shall. It goes down to explain the rest of the language. So it basically creates a state statute instead of relying on federal law. This is a state law, and it's kind of evolved to the point where it's a necessary thing to do at this point for safety's sake. And I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chairman. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Kolb. Senator Pappas.
Thank you. I just want to add one more item that may be clarifying. Right now, there are currently certain highway patrol officers that are federally certified to uphold the CFR, okay? And not all patrol officers are, nor are police departments and sheriff's departments and everything. So they could pull over somebody and they can't enforce the federal law. So what we're doing is we're putting a state law that says our other officers can enforce under our state law the federal law. So it just gives more, it gives us more ability to reach out and stop these unsafe drivers. And there was a lot of testimony about how many have already been caught. Very dangerous. And we had testimony from the association that represents our truckers. We had an association that represents our contractors. We had everyone agrees we need to get people off of the roads. They can't speak English, can't read English, because it's very unsafe when they pass these warning signs and don't understand what they are. Thank you.
Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd be remiss if I didn't add this. The Highway Patrol's issued 775 citations for the inability to have a proficiency in the English language. And shockingly, they've had 19 repeat violations, which you'd think they might have learned the first time that they should have had a proficiency in English. So this is a common problem. I think if anybody speaks to the tow truck drivers around our state, they find out there's a huge issue with the ability to have, people to have a rudimentary understanding of English. And that's what this is going to this is going to help. I don't think it's a perfect solution, but it's going to leave our law enforcement people with another tool to deal with people that frankly shouldn't be on our roads and make it unsafe for the rest of the citizens in the state. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Kolb. Any additional discussion on House Bill 32? Senator McEwen.
First of all, I want to say I support the bill before I ask the question. So we give him a $1,000 fine, and then we pat Skippy on the head and he gets back in his 18-wheeler and heads down the road? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kolb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, they're not going to pat Skippy on the head. They are in fact going to issue a citation, and the vehicle is stopped right there. It does not travel any further with that driver until they can demonstrate a proficiency in English, if that's possible. Typically, the vehicle is parked, and they have to get another driver to continue on. And if they catch the person again, then it becomes a $2,000 fine and a misdemeanor. So basically, they give you one, but you can't continue. To answer the question, no, it's parked because they've determined that person should not be driving in the state of Wyoming with a CDL. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Kolb. Senator Ide.
On and for the bill. The only thing that I don't like about it, just to let the sponsor know, is about the federal regulation in there. I'm not sure if the federal government has the authority to regulate in this situation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of questions. The first is kind of a fair notice question. How would the operators that are traveling from another state into Wyoming know and understand that we're having a different set of driver's license rules than those that would be operating in another state? So I'm a little bit curious and concerned about that, that for all this driver may know everything's okay, and then they end up with a ticket. Is there a common way to communicate that? Obviously, we have then different conditions on our CDL than what other states would. The other state is the issuing entity. And so I'm curious about us not honoring effectively other states and having restrictions on interstate commerce beyond what other states have. Maybe that's taken care of by some of the discussion at the federal level that was mentioned, but it was unclear to me, honestly, what was done through the CFR at the federal level, whether that's an authorization or whether that's an explicit restriction. So that's kind of my first question, is that fair notice aspect. The second is just a concern which I think goes to the CFR to some degree on how much English proficiency is needed. And at the end of the day, as the good proponent of the bill pointed out, it's clear that from a safety standpoint, the individual that's driving the vehicle needs to be able to read the sign and meaningfully engage with anything that's written on the sign. So that takes a certain amount of English proficiency, Mr. Chairman, but it doesn't necessarily mean the same as fluency. And that may be in the CFR, but I'm curious what threshold of understanding has to be achieved. And then finally, and this probably is also in the CFR, how well can one of our field officers evaluate English proficiency when realistically we need them to be able to read, which is a different proficiency from speaking, because the reading is essential, but fluent speaking honestly is probably not essential. It's handy, but not essential from a safety standpoint. So those are my concerns, and I'd be curious to understand this a little better.
Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll try to address a couple of those. First of all, we're in this situation because other states did not actually follow the federal motor vehicle carrier requirements, and we're issuing licenses to folks who were not proficient and not adequately screening those folks. So the circumstance we're in is because states did not follow the standard requirements for commercial driver's license that are required for all states to participate. And there have been several thousand licenses subsequently since this changed and since there was an executive order at the federal level to enforce, to actually follow it, and for the federal government to engage with those states who are not doing, not following the federal standard, engage them. There's been several thousand commercial driver's licenses revoked. However, there's still some on the road. And that's what we're dealing with now, is folks who are on the road. Our enforcement officers currently now, and you heard the numbers, 775 out of service. That means you stop the vehicle, the individual can't demonstrate proficiency, the vehicle is taken out of service, and until someone who is proficient and qualified as a commercial driver license can be there to take the vehicle on, it sits. 337 were actually issued citations, and then as was pointed out, there were 19 repeats. Someone that got the first were engaged once and then were found again. And this is, I recall, this is over a 7-month period. This is from mid-June until the end of our January. So 7-8 months period. So that's significant. So to my good colleague's question about how do we, it's a standardized type questionnaire that the trooper would, currently a trooper can go through, a certified officer with our Highway Patrol. What this bill does is actually force multiply. It gives other law enforcement agencies, because now it's a state statute, the same ability to enforce this based on state law. So I don't think there is nothing nefarious going on here. We're actually trying to enforce the laws of the United States, and we're doing some force multiplying by giving our local law enforcement, both sheriffs and local PDs, the same opportunity to keep our roads safe and to enforce state law that is consistent with the current federal law. I hope that answers the question. And for those that are concerned about not having, or that the federal law is involved in this at all, then you really should be in favor of this bill, because now we'll have a state standard for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Any additional discussion on House Bill 32? Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to pull up the actual 49 CFR Part 391.11, it goes on to say, read and speak English language sufficiently to converse to the general public, understand highway traffic signs and signals, respond to official inquiries, and make entries on reports and records. Additionally, starting June 25th, 2025, FMSCSA will begin strictly enforcing these English language proficiency requirements for commercial drivers. Not to dissuade anyone who does not like federal CFRs, but we are merely conforming for the purposes of being safe on our roads. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. I will point out, though, I just dug into it a little bit more to understand the CFR a little bit. And I think one of the things that's just important to realize and point out is that there was no federal statute or federal law that was enacted to provide this clarity. This was actually through rule and regulation promulgated through the Department of Transportation de novo. And so I know that there's a lot of concern in this body around the state and around the country at the idea of having federal agencies enforcing their rules as laws and then providing significant penalties. We had a discussion the other day, for example, about people going to jail for EPA violations where there was no statute that was associated with it. And I just want to make it clear that this is, again, one of those cases where there is no statute. There is just rulemaking authority. The rulemaking authority created what is effectively the force of law. And that force of law, we are now enforcing on behalf of the feds. So it is an interesting little circumstance that we're in, where we're claiming that the federal law is what we're trying to follow, but no such law was created. It was by rule and then executive action, Mr. Chairman. So I do have concerns, but I appreciate the fact that this is certainly in the interest of public safety and trying to make sure that we don't have CDL drivers on our roads that can't understand the signs.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, I think if I understand it right, federal regulation can be changed without Congress, and if we just remove the federal references in there on regulation and just use that same language, I think that would accomplish it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that reference is there to give a standardized test, and that was the standardized test that's been in existence. So what happened is the federal government changed, through executive order, what they were previously doing. This is merely going back to the intent of the CFR, which is for public safety. First, here in our state, we can't affect those folks in the far east or west of us with whatever they do. However, we can certainly promote traffic safety. Now, the CFR, the reference was just to give a standardized test so those folks that are driving understand that it isn't going to be a quiz on war and peace and proficiency in reading. This is merely a very rudimentary test procedure that's fair, and the expectation is that's what they have to meet for the requirements. And as for folks that drive through our state that do not follow this law, that's a risk they take by not following the law, and it's all for safety. It isn't anything other than for safety for the individuals in our state. On and for the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Any further discussion on House Bill 32? Any further discussion? Hearing none and question being called, all those in favor of Senator Pappas's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 32 do pass, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. House Bill 32 has passed Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 36. The reading clerk will please read the bill.
House Bill 36, Forestry Division Wildland Fire Modules, engrossed. An act relating to the state forester sponsored by appropriations, referred to Senate Committee Number 2, which returned a do pass recommendation. Voting aye, Senators Giroux, Larson, Salazar. Voting no, Senator French. Excused, Senator Driscoll.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What's your pleasure, Senator Salazar?
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that House Bill 36 do pass, and I will ask my colleague from Powell to explain the bill.
Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, correction to the record, I'm not quite from Powell, a little ways off, just kind of the bill, so.
You just happened to stand up, Senator.
I'll pick it up. There is an amendment. We have the amendment read in.
Could we please have the Standing Committee amendment read in?
House Bill 36, Committee of the Whole, Amendment Number 1, page 1, line 2.
I'd move for adoption of Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 36. And I'm going to leave the explanation a bit later on, but I'm going to go ahead and go into the bill. I want to make sure we got it out of the way. Folks, this is a bill that worked on very heavily by your Appropriations Committee. We've got a pretty good record now in this body, both sides, of being really proactive on fires, and it's given us some really big returns. We've added to our air fleets, we've used some inmate crews, and now we're kind of moving to the next level of fire prevention and taking care of it. So what this actually does is authorizes 2 modules of firefighters, and it's 24 employee positions in it, so it sounds like quite a lot of people, and that's what it takes on fighting the fire. 4 of the positions are full-time employee positions that consist of regional fire managers and suppression module leaders. 4 will be 9-month temporary full-time employee positions, and 16 are 6-month temporary full-time positions. So this gives you 2 full crews of them. This is actually basically a pilot project. It goes for a couple of years, goes in the standard budget for the immediately succeeding fiscal biennium. It's going to cost $5,144,000 for the biennium for both of the crews. General fund goes to state lands investments, where all our fire stuff is housed at this point in time. 2 complete modules. This covers all the support costs, equipment, all the costs associated with hiring, training, and supervising. 2 specialized teams to support wildfire suppression. The effective date on this, and this is part of what's important, it's June 30th. The effective date of the bill is actually even ahead of that, so we've got them on the ground ahead of the deal. Last part of it is it takes $1 million out of the state, takes $1 million out of the appropriation to the state lands department on that, effective April 1, 2026. Folks, it's just an insurance policy for us. We're dry now, been dry. These proactive actions we've taken on fire have given us huge dividends. Almost every dime that's been spent out of this body, either in some type of forest management, fire prevention, aerial or on the ground, has given us many multiple times dividends. I'd ask for your favorable consideration on it and stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions on either the bill or the amendment? Senator Kolb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the bill, I guess I'm concerned we're going to make a permanent group of people sitting around. So what are they going to do for $5 million? I mean, what is there, if there's not a firefight, what else goes on with this module? Could I guess get an explanation? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great question, and one that we talked about extensively. During their off time, they will do work on mitigating and working on fire suppression, advanced techniques and things to help prevent fires from spreading, to help get a handle on meaningful projects that will help stop the spread of fires if they begin. So it's definitely a thing where they'll be utilized all throughout the season if no fires occur.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1? Senator Hicks.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like a little more explanation why we need a full-time FTE for $195,000 for a public information officer. I'm still need a little more explanation on that. And I'm hoping they're taking applications from semi-retired senators.
Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, on the Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1, through the testimony that we received, one of the keys, and we heard this from the folks who are chiefs in situations of fire, talked to us a great deal about, and the problem is getting information out in a timely fashion when a fire occurs. A lot of times, and this is a big problem that we heard a lot of testimony about, is that when fires occur, 2 things happen. First, on the social media world, all of a sudden, half-truths, fantastic stories, and just misinformation spreads like wildfire, which leads to, I know, I said, good laugh there. But it just leads to a lot of confusion, leads to dangerous situations, and some real life-threatening situations that occur for no reason other than misinformation. Second problem, when a fire event occurs and it crosses county lines, the information loop gets disjointed. Sometimes the right hand, and I know this doesn't happen very often, but it does. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. We actually had testimony from one chief who said a major highway was closed due to some misinformation. It wasn't told to the other county, and so folks in one county didn't know that a main artery was closed by the other county. All these things added up led to the discussion about having a statewide coordinator in the OSLI department to be an PIO, an information coordinator, who can set up, and some of the larger counties have incident command centers, a lot of the smaller counties don't. And so that's what this would provide. The $195,000 is appropriated to the general fund, as I read down here. I will check and see, but I believe this was what it was for the position and the office that it'll hold, but it'll be held at OSLI.
Thank you, Senator. Back to you, Senator Hicks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and again, I'm not saying that we don't need a public, but a full-time employee. So just think about that in the context of the bill. We're putting a fire module together for 9 months. So, and then the reality of the fire season, even when we have early spring fires, is primarily going to run from April through late October. And this is a full-time position. And it's the reason it's $195,000 because it's retirement and it's benefits and it's insurance. I just question the need for when we have a 6-month fire season and we only have put entire fire modules on for 9 months, why we need a full FTE, that we couldn't do this through an AWAC position, which is a significant savings to the state of Wyoming. And I just need to understand what this person's going to be doing when there are not fires burning, as is described by my colleague. I'm not saying we don't need it. I'm just saying I question the need for a full-time employee year-round to do the job.
Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You guys don't get to hear me say this much, but this is a legitimate function of government to protect life and property. So, anyway, I appreciate the debate, learning what's the modules being used for, and I'll grind through this. Thank you, Chamber.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think to the question of why full-time, because this actually doesn't say it's only for the fire. It's actually for full-time for this Office of State Lands Investments for public information officer. It does not specify it's only for that particular purpose, at least the way I read it. Now, you go below, maybe you can make that assumption, but I think that this is broader than that. I'll also say, Mr. Chairman, and you and I experienced numerous fires in our community over the last couple of years. When you have those federal teams, incident command teams, the most important person they have is their PIO, the person that everybody reaches to for consistent information, whether it's the local newspapers, the law enforcement, the state of Wyoming, the executive's branch, or legislators who represent those communities. It is the PIO for those federal agencies. But those folks aren't there in the beginning of fires, and then when they get the fire under control, they leave. And that leaves a gap. And those gaps, when there's, especially in multiple counties, multiple county fire complexes, and even multiple state complexes, there becomes a gap in information to the public. So I think this is a very critical component. I don't want to have fire seasons, quite honestly, but I'd much rather be prepared and part of that preparation being able to communicate with the public for their safety and for the betterment of how things get accomplished. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, on and for the amendment and the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Back to Senator Hicks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate pointing that out but we've got this bill called Forestry Division Wildfire Modules. And now we're bringing in a position to an agency now. So I beg the question is now are we outside the intent if it's just another position within OSLI? And it's not truly just it's just seasonally going to do firework. And so if that's the case, if this is truly to help OSLI for all this, why wasn't this in the budget? The agency asked for that position to have a year-round, and I haven't heard that. I heard that this is in the Forestry Division Wildland Fire module to have an information officer, not just to have an information officer for OSLI. So I'd ask the Appropriations Committee, was there anything in the governor's budget or the recommendation or request to the agency to put another full-time information officer in OSLI?
Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to pull up and recall the discussions around this with regard to OSLI, but I do know the original ask was 2 employees for this, and we cut it to 1. And it was in this module. And I do not believe, to be honest, I don't believe there was any other request that was asked. But to the point, just to kind of build on the point that was just made about this, as far as getting the information out about fire safety and things that people can do in the off seasons about fire safety is a year-round effort and actually can have great beneficial use. And I frankly don't think it's one of the things I think we actually are short on is getting timely information out about situations that occur and what we can do to prevent things year-round. I frankly think that we could do a lot better, and I think that's why this position, after the testimony received from the people on the ground, the people who are fighting fires, the people that are involved in these situations on a daily basis, said, please do this. On and for. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Grew. We are discussing Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 36. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, question being called. All those in favor of Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 36, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no? No. Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, question being called. All those in favor of Senator Salazar's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that House Bill 36 do pass, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. House Bill 36 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 106. Reading clerk will please read the bill.
House Bill 106, Smoke Buster Module Leaders, an act relating to the state forester, sponsored by Appropriations, referred to Senate Committee Number 2, which returned a due pass recommendation, voting aye, Senators Garou, Larson, Salazar, Voting no, Senator French, excuse Senator Driscoll, signed Senator Salazar, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What's your pleasure, Senator Salazar?
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 106 do pass, and I'll pass it on to my colleague from Appropriate.
Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I move House Bill number 106, Smoke Buster Leaders, to the body and ask for your favorable consideration. This is something I was definitely in favor of. Smoke busters use our inmates that are trained and ready to go help with these fires. Usually it's kind of a mock cleanup type after the fires are kind of settled down. This bill actually would give us 2 more full-time positions to manage these teams through the forestry division. Currently, well, I was just going to give you some stats from 2024. That was the smoke busters' busiest season. I don't have the data for 2025, but in that year, there were 31 assignments, 56 shifts in 9 different counties. There was 17 qualified inmates that participated and 4 crew supervisors. So I think that's pretty impressive to be able to use these inmates in that way. What this bill will do, it would be an expense of $499,709. In 2026, it would pretty much set it, fiscal year would set it up, and we would more than likely hire one. It takes effect after April 1st, 2026 for one, and then that'll be effective for another FTE in April 1st, 2027. So this includes the FTE's wages and benefits, but also it includes the equipment. They would need a truck and supplies, software, hardware, telecommunications services, and that sort. So I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Senator Larson. Is there any discussion or questions for Senator Larson on House Bill 106? Seeing none, question being called. All those in favor of Senator Salazar's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 106 do pass, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. House Bill 106 has passed Committee of the Whole. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Committee of the Whole rise and report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The motion has passed. Mr. President.
Committee of the Whole report.
Mr. President, your Committee of the Whole, having under consideration bills on general file, begs leave to report as follows. House Bill 8, do pass. House Bill 9, engrossed, do pass, amended. House Bill 112, do pass. House Bill 111, engrossed, do pass, amended. House Bill 26, engrossed, do pass. House Bill 32, engrossed, do pass. House Bill 36, engrossed, do pass, amended. House Bill 106, do pass. Senator Crago, Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Crago.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of the Committee of the Whole report.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Committee of the Whole report has been adopted. Thank you, Senator Crago. Signing of enrolled acts. We're at that order of business, signing enrolled acts. Senate Enrolled Act number 2.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 2, Original Senate File 18, Attendance of Students in K through 12 Schools, an act relating to enrollment of students in K through 12 public schools.
Thank you. I am about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 2, same being Original Senate File 18. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 3.
In Senate Enrolled Act Number 3, Original Senate File 31, Uniform Mortgage Modification Act, an act relating to mortgages.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 3, being an Original Senate File 31. So signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 4.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 4, Original Senate File 47, Increase of Hathaway Scholarship Awards, an act relating to increasing the Hathaway Scholarship Program awards.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 4, same being Original Senate File 47. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 5.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 5, Original Senate File 30, Elections, Voter Registration Revisions, an act relating to elections.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 5, same being Original Senate File 30. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 6.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 6, Original Senate File 24, Lottery Tickets, Acceptance of Debit Card Payments, an act relating to the Wyoming Lottery.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 6, same being Original Senate File number 24. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 7.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 7, Original Senate File 11, Burials of Indigent Veterans Amendments, an act relating to Defense Forces and Affairs.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 7, being Original Senate File 11. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 8.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 8, Original Senate File 8, Absconding for Criminal Purposes, Criminal Offense, an act relating to crimes and offenses.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 8, same being Original Senate File number 8. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 9.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 9, being Original Senate File 7, Theft Amendments, an act relating to crimes and offenses.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 9, being Original Senate File number 7. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 10.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 10, being Original Senate File 5, Hospital Bankruptcy Proceedings, an act relating to counties.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 10, being Original Senate File number 5. So signed. Senate Enrolled Act House Enrolled Act number 2, excuse me.
House Enrolled Act Number 2, being original House Bill Number 5, an act relating to oil and gas.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 2, same being original House Bill number 5. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 1.
House Enrolled Act Number 1, being original House Bill Number 4, an act relating to medical assistance and services.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 1, same being original House Bill 4. I have so signed. All right, Chief Clerk, what else do we have? All right, let's do some reports from standing, before we do reports from standing committees, do you have a re-referral, Senator Pappas?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Without objection, I ask that House Bill 145, removing triple taxation for resident electric vehicle drivers, be re-referred from Revenue Committee number 3 to your Committee number 8, Transportation.
Absent objection is so ordered. House Bill 145 has been re-referred to Committee number 8, Transportation. Reports from standing committees.
Mr. President, dated February 25th, 2026, your Committee number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, to whom was referred House Bill 117, engrossed, Stop Harm, Empower Women with Informed Notices, respectfully report saying back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass, voting aye, Senators Brennan, Crum, Hutchings, Steinmetz, voting no, Senator Scott, signed Senator Brennan, Chairman. Mr. President, dated February 25th, 2026, your Committee number 9, Minerals, Business, and Economic Development, to whom was referred House Bill 128, Enhanced Oil Recovery Severance Tax Exemption, respectfully report saying back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, voting aye, Senators Anderson, Cooper, Jones, Nethercott, and Rothfuss, signed Senator Anderson, Chairman. Mr. President, dated February 25th, 2026, your Committee number 9, Minerals, Business, and Economic Development, to whom was referred House Bill 75, engrossed virtual currency kiosks, respectfully report saying back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, voting aye, Senators Anderson, Cooper, Jones, Nethercott, and Rothfuss, signed Senator Anderson, Chairman.
Thank you. Anything else? That clears the desk. All right, Madam Majority Floor Leader, take us home.
Mr. President, I move that we stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, February 26th.
All right, any announcements? Senator Pappas.
Yes, Mr. President. Yeah, your Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs Committee will meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. Committee, listen, 9 a.m. To consider House Bill 145, removing triple taxation for resident EV drivers in room 2, W2 in the extension, 9 o'clock. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Senator Landon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Travel, Recreation, and Wildlife Committee will meet tomorrow morning, Thursday, at 8 o'clock in room W4 downstairs. We'll take up House Bill 19, engrossed corner crossing clarification. We'll report back to you, Mr. President, whether we get this clarified or not. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Good luck, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Ride.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee number 5, Senate Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources will meet tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Room W006. And there's a little conflict on here. I think they printed this out wrong, actually. It says Senate File 69. It's actually House Bill 69. And so it's House Bill 69, Department of Health Land Transfers. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman. Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to, one more time, invite anyone that doesn't have dinner plans tonight to join the Leap into Leadership group, sponsored by the Wyoming Women's Legislative Caucus. Reception starts at 5:30 down at the Met. Dinner starts at 6:30. Again, we'll have Nina McConley, who's a famous author from Casper, Wyoming, whose mother also served in the Wyoming Legislature, that will be there as our main speaker. And so we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Appropriations will be meeting tomorrow upon noon recess in E202 and taking on re-referrals as assigned.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Any other announcements? All right. You've all heard the majority floor leader's motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion is adopted. Motion carries. The Senate shall stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.